have some fun here. So let's see what Spirit has to say. I invoke the power of the living God. I call in Archangel Michael. I call in Mother God, Father God, Saint Germain. I call in my guides and all of the guides and healing masters that are appropriate. Spirit, what do you have to say just today? Feels kind of like a somber time, right? Today's November 24th. 24th, 2024. So 11/24/2024. Numbers thing. It's a Sunday. And Spirit's been telling me today that as we're leaving the year of the dragon in January, the year of the dragon 2024 is the year of the return. So everything coming back at you, back at you, back at you. As we head into this next phase of New Earth, going through the eye of the needle, as Bashar calls it, we're having to refine everything we can't take with us. So it doesn't matter if you've worked decades on every trigger and every trauma and every program, what you thought you might have cleared, people you might have removed from your life, triggers and traumas and aspects of yourself that draw people to you or repel people from you that you might have thought you mastered. Well, here we are. And Spirit says we, as a collective and individually, are getting hit with it over and over and over and over. It's a choice point. We're getting stuff brought up from the past that was there before, that we can decide, is this really what we want this time? Do we want this? How will we know? How will we know if it's a test or a choice point? Well, it feels fucking awful. It hurts, okay? It breaks you open. It tests you by saying, okay, here's this. Does this feel good? Yes, that feels good. Okay, well, let's break you open. Let's break your heart. People are feeling this individually and as a collective. Let this grief pour out that's been stuck in there. Pour out, pour out, pour out. Some of it's turning to anger. Unpredictable ways that people are allowing this grief to go through. And Spirit's showing me that even though I've been doing this work my entire life, I'm a light worker, I consider myself, enlightened, and I've dealt with all that crazy stuff and all my triggers and my traumas. Well, Spirit's like, yeah, right. Well, you too have been challenged and will be challenged as to, it's not so much as how you respond to what's been thrown at you, but that you allow yourself to feel it. So the pain comes up, the hurt comes up, let yourself feel it. The more you ignore it, the more you distract yourself with things outside yourself, the slower it'll trickle. But today, Spirit gave me this example because it's, the Christmas season of, I like the Christmas Carol. So you'll be visited by, the ghost of Christmas past, the present, the future. But this will be brought to you by people. Okay, so lovers, friends, exes, family from the past, strangers at the store, people in politics, people in the news, random strangers will be brought to you over and over and over. Kind of like this other example, like speed dating, right? But speed relationships, but these micro relationships, boom, 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 so that you can, again, have a choice point to say, what is it that I want my life to be? What do I prefer? Because this is literally opening a portal to a new world and a new timeline where, you see that movie Inception, right? You're literally creating buildings and worlds, every possible scenario of timelines out there you can move to right now, but you have to know your mind. You have to know your belief. Who are you? What do you want? Oftentimes, like the Abraham Hicks stuff talks about over and over, we find out who we are by who we're not. We find out what we like by going, I don't like that. I may prefer that. I might not prefer that. You're going to have someone come into your life and rap on your heart or your intellect or a health issue, and you're going to have another choice point. And like I said, I don't want to dwell so much on how you deal with what happens, but that you understand more of who you are. As we go through this next phase to New Earth, we can't take the baggage with us, right? Well, the baggage is our self-awareness. So I am to know that I have been the victim, I have been the abuser. In many lifetimes, in many dimensions, and in this lifetime, I've been all things. There's no such thing as justice. There's no such thing as truth. It is your subjective perspective. You look at everything through the filters. You look through everything, look at everything based on what definition I give to the words, what definition I give to the circumstance. If someone hasn't, say, for example, had abuse in their childhood, they might see something completely different. So you can stand right next to someone, you can go to an event with them, you can be in a relationship with them near or far, and they can be experiencing a completely different reality and a completely different frequency and timeline than you are. Okay, that happens all the time. It's hard for me to believe it as you get more and more used to reality shifts, like they call the Mandela effect. So I'm getting pretty good at it. Like I'll have like a fork or something that'll change. All of the different Mandela effects that are trivia, that are astrology, that are body. Big one for me is the length of men, right? Different TV shows and music, and we were on the Orion arm, the Sagittarius arm, the sun was yellow, now it's white, Bible scriptures. There's a lot of them. And I've been able to kind of roll with it. My God, that's weird, right? That's a reality shift. I can shift in it even when I turn my back and something changes, even in the room right in front of me. Okay, when my bestie that I talk to every day is like something she didn't like for the last 10 years, I've been kind of roll with it. It's harder. Okay, so it's harder and harder for me to roll with that when it comes to people in my life. So even though I know I can experience a completely different reality than someone right next to me, it's really hard for me to really grasp that they have experienced a completely different version of me than I know me to be. They have felt that they seen me do or say or be, maybe even wear a different color, right? They can experience a completely different version of me. And I find that more difficult. So the closer you are to someone, some of the examples they give, because this is just kind of benign, but like say the marriages, I've been married to somebody like 15 years, never ever liked ketchup. Not only do they like ketchup now, but they've always liked ketchup. So that kind of stuff would make me feel like I was alone. I was in a car accident with my ex, and we both had different versions of what happened. And I took that as that I was alone and that she didn't get me, and that I never got that she really could have experienced a completely different reality than me. And so right now we're being challenged to stay in the now. Okay, it's changed. Oh, you're this way and you're into this? Okay, then I see you the next day and you're somebody else? Okay, that's timeline shifts. And I'm working, I'm Gen X. I'm working on being more fluid with the people in my life changing from day to day, minute to minute, based on not only are they shifting realities based on their own beliefs and their own life experience and triggers and traumas, but I'm shifting to a different version of people around me based on my own frequency shifts. So I have to learn to be more nimble about it, Spirit is showing me. And with the Ghost of Christmas Past sort of thing, you're gonna keep getting, I want to describe it as hit, or tower moments, or you're gonna keep being challenged by people spirits bringing to you, circumstances. It could be health stuff, it could be money stuff, it could be marriage stuff, it could be stuff with your children, to have another choice point. And whereas maybe these used to be like 6 months, a couple years, a few years, every 5 years, now it's like every 30 days, every week, sometimes every day, something else is brought in to go, hey, what do you prefer? Who are you now? What do you prefer? Who are you now? We're constantly refining and refining and refining as we head towards the end of the year of the dragon, which is the return. And I've had so much stuff returned this year. And now here in the last few months, I'm getting boom, 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 boom. Now, these things that I'm experiencing and the people I'm experiencing and drawing to me are waking me up by going, well, hey, how you doing now? Like, what's going on? Like, I'd like to get to know you. I'd like to know more about you. Or I can't stand you. I think you're this person, or I think you're that person. And these people keep coming into my life. So it hurts my feelings. It could trigger me on all kinds of levels, break my heart. When you have your heart broke, it's kind of like, where they say like bloodletting, like you bleed out a wound so that you can get the poisons out. Well, when love comes to you and breaks your heart, it's you that's breaking your own heart because you're doing it by a thought or your individual a definition of the circumstance. But when that heart breaks, your reaction is kind of unpredictable even to yourself, but just feel it. Don't future trip it. Don't past trip it. Don't blame anybody. I am not a victim. I create my own reality and I can now create another one. I don't prefer this. I do prefer this. Just because someone else lives in a completely different world and completely different whatever, their choices are just as valid as my choices. All truths are equal. And just because I don't believe in your truth or want to live your truth, that doesn't invalidate your truth. And you just kind of flow with it. And so when your heart breaks and you like chase outside of yourself, you're kind of blocking up the poisons. When you just sit there and feel it, and cry and wail and get in the fetal position and just feel it without putting a story, without putting a blaming a person in your life at any point or any timeline or anything, just feel it. And it's kind of like a great bloodletting, but it's an emotional letting of stuff that's been trapped in our body, in our field for this lifetime, in every parallel lifetime, and a shamanic retreat, shamanic healing where we're bringing back fragments of ourselves from other dimensions, other timelines, other aspects and versions of ourselves. And some of it hurts like a mofo, right? It hurts because it's a physical pain to have your heart broke. It's a physical pain to have people yelling at you that you got 3 heads. This is an example. So they're saying, hey, you got 3 heads. You know you don't got 3 heads. That's obviously a crude example, but they're saying something to you that you know you didn't do, you know you didn't say, you know you don't believe, and they're doing it in mass. It could be doing it, in the newspapers, in letters, in legal documents, in whatever's being sent at you to go, well, what are you going to do now? What definition are you going to do on this now? Where is your true self? Because all the things we don't prefer now and the people we don't prefer, they're fading away. The governments of man are completely changing. No corruption's going to be funded. No hiding the cures. No hiding free electricity. No hiding anything that is the highest and best for the people anymore. Okay, we're already there. The issue is I can't tune into that reality completely until I've got rid of all of my old stuff, right? My patterns and my programs and my stuff that I might have been arrogant enough to think that maybe I had dealt with them or I had healed. Because I've been working on this my entire life. I knew at a very young age some of the abuse stuff that I had in my family and what traits of my mom's I'd taken on and what traits of my dad. And I worked on healing and I did energy healing and I did all kinds of stuff to heal my whole life. And I thought I kind of had a handle on it until I met my current bestie and my healer about 12 years ago, and I realized I hadn't really even started. So she did shamanic healing, energy healing, kind of this therapy stuff with me every day, pretty much for 12 years now. And I lived in a car for many, many years, and it was about me being the best version of me that I can. Walking on the beach, just sitting there looking at the horizon, crying most days, not knowing how to get out of it. I'd always been someone who could create money, create, wheeling and dealing at a real estate company, at a ranch, at a bakery, buying and selling property, wheeling and dealing. All of a sudden I hit a point in my life where I couldn't bring in any money, and I didn't have any food, and I didn't have any gas, and I was freezing to death in the car. Kind of stunning. When it dawned on me that, whoa, then I went and got help with food. Then I had a friend that helped me here and there with some gas money. I didn't understand the resources that were available to me. Things kept coming in, where it was just me and the land. And I talked to my bestie every day. She lives in another country, so I didn't really see her much. But I would do healing work every day to get to the better me over and over and over. When I discovered that the Mandela effect, the shift in reality that I'd experienced from the yellow sun to the white sun, I stopped everything. I used to anti-corruption blog, which, I am now again. But the only reason I'm doing stuff now is because of two things that had happened locally. I am spiraling out of that here soon. So you'll be happy to know, some of you. But when I realized in 2016 that the sun was white, that was just one of like 1,000 things. So the lion and the lamb never existed, mirror, mirror on the wall never existed, that I had shifted realities. I remember I have a photographic memory, best can, and on the We Are Here maps, we were here. So we were on the Sagittarius arm. Now we're here. So we've moved thousands of light years. I've shifted consciousness to a different reality. The way people's body shapes are, I was like, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what I do. Doesn't matter what I say. Doesn't matter what I chase. Doesn't matter about money. Nothing matters but me. Being the best version of me. Getting rid of every pattern and every program, because I'm literally projecting reality. I'm projecting who comes into my life. I'm projecting who comes out. I'm projecting the timeline where, that building exists, and then it doesn't exist. I can move to any timeline I want. And now Spirit says we are in New Earth, and every possibility is available to us. But we have to believe it. We have to truly know it can be. And we have to get rid of all the disbelief. We have to get rid of all of our ancestors' trauma and triggers. And I've been working my whole life doing that. So I got to these layers and layers. And then I got into this really negative depression. And once it was funny because living in a car, right, I'd wear like 8-9 layers a day. I wouldn't really look at people, but sometimes I'd help, I'd hold doors downtown, help people, festivals, clean up things, do whatever. Always my happy-go-lucky self, but I mostly just moved from location to location, trying to get out of the heat or the cold, looking for places to go to the bathroom, looking for, ways to eat, craving a warm meal, craving to not feel wet, because it was this constant moisture in the air. And it was survival. And I would go out, and walk the beaches like sometimes at 3 a.m, stretch my back and stuff. And I fell in love with the water and the air and the heron and the critters of the night and this magic stillness over the docks of the bay and the moon and the stars and scrying in the water. And it's just, and alone. In this surreal interdimensional alone. And the wind would rock the car, and I began to get more and more comfortable with it. And then at one point, the pandemic, whatever stuff hit, and I had this little restaurant job, so I was able to get some unemployment. And so I decided, I started renting, going and staying in parks. And I remember I was deep in the woods camping in this park in my car and just crying to Spirit and just praying for change and saying, I'm too far out, right? I don't have no more credit. I have no family. I have no way to do rentals. I've been, defamed in the biggest newspapers in the world. I have no way to shore now. And I asked Spirit to help me. And I put my hands on trees and asked the trees to help me through their network. And the place that I'm at now, big trees around me, I had flashed on visions, and I ended up this step, and getting a home, and then getting a permanent home. And so that was layer after layer. Now, the more I started to get peace and warmth, the more depressed I got in other levels, because sometimes when you're holding all of that, when you finally get peace, you let it go. And so I just sleep and kind of just avoid, I was subleasing at first and I couldn't stand the person I was subleasing from. So I just kind of like avoid her and like just sleep. And then in 2022, things shifted for me and I began getting involved in other things. And I'm shifting back out of that now. That was a calling. But the point is that the time in the car, I connected even more with other dimensions, with spirit, with the night, with the sky, with this other level that's outside of the matrix. And so people with jobs and schools and this regular life, I'd already been out of it for so long. I was already out of it my whole life, right? I mean, I had my own businesses. I never really had a traditional job. I did, come out as a lesbian at 15, always had some sort of alternate reality, but more and more and more. And so it's because I'm in housing now, I'm still outside of the matrix. Like I don't, that world of, we got to go to college and we got to pay the bills. We got to get a business loan. Like none of that's real to me because I know now that I can conjure up a house. I can conjure up food. I can conjure up electricity. I can conjure up what I need by my thoughts and my beliefs. And so I've worked on that. But I also then trying to appreciate it, trying to feel happy, trying to go, well, I don't even know, Spirit, what's happy? Well, Spirit's like, it's okay. Just pick what's the happiest thing to do in the moment. So is it read this book? Is it walk here? Is it walk there? Really this depression coming in and, just walking around, looking at my crystals, looking at my thing, touching things and just being present over and over. And I lay in bed and I just feel the blankets and keep feeling the blankets, keep getting in the now and the now and the now. And I'd have layer after layer, and then Spirit would take me places in my dream. Like I dream all these dimensions every night. But at this one period of time, I was like 3 weeks over and over and over, I go to the same place in the dream. Same place, same people coming after me, trying to kill me over and over and over. Until I could figure out in this reality how to get away from them in that reality. And it was quite a strategic blend of realities when I finally was able to bridge those. And so I'd have these tests over and over and over. Then I'd have these dreams about abductions and how my consciousness or my overlay of my humanness was taken and I would move through these fears. And so once I got into this house for the last 3 years or so, I was doing that other work. And so in the car, like I said, I just be in the state park, the trees and the water and different people ebbing and flowing. People ebb and flow just as much as the tides. And watching people and interacting with people and watching the dawn and watching the sunset, just so what you would never do in a house. And it was a very beautiful experience, but also very scary and traumatic. I wished I'd have known in my 20s I could live in a car. I'd have never stayed in a long-term relationship that I was miserable in. Marriage to me now is about handlers. It's about constantly having someone to give you an opinion on what you wear, where you go, what you do, who you are, constantly altering who you are to be married. And soon we're all going to have basic income, high basic income. We're all going to be able to have homes and income, and none of you are going to stay with people because of money. You're going to stay with someone because you want to and you really like them and you really enjoy it. Be sovereign, independent people. I look at marriage as oppressive and as some people do, just as a situationship or whatever, or a babysitter, or because there's custody issues or divorce is expensive or alimony, but I've never really known a couple that are 100% authentically themselves married. And people you've known before marriage, they alter themselves somehow. And some people say, that's great, marriage is work, relationships are work. I don't need that kind of work. It's allowing your true authentic self and being that with someone else. If you can do that, that's awesome. I haven't met a couple that really are. They might say they are, but they'll say, well, I'm this or that, or she's like that. They're still altering themselves. They might be walking on eggshells. They're still living in an oppressed way. And I did that for a long time. I was always in long-term relationships. Then all of a sudden, the last 12 years, I haven't been in a relationship. I was in a long distance relationship, but I never lived with anybody. And so I'm now like, it's really hard to imagine someone being around all the time. Like, where are you going? What are you doing? Why are you napping? Why are you up at 3 a.m.? What should we do for dinner? I don't want that, right? I want constant passion and constant seduction and talk. And I want to be like, interested in the people I'm around, or, like have separate houses and just see each other when you want to, and have meals together like a few times a week or once a week or even once a month that are really a special time. I like to just eat when I want, how I want, do the dishes when I want. I lived in that repressiveness of a relationship for 16 years. I had a 6-year relationship, an 8-year relationship, a 16-year relationship. And then, why I'm talking, this is what Spirit's bringing up. For us now to go, well, who are we without anyone else? Who are we without our parents, our adult children, our spouses? Who are you? What do you want? And when you live the lifestyle of me outside of the matrix, I'm like cool and I'm groovy, so I'm healed, right? And I don't mess with the peasants, and they got all of their things that they got to deal with, and I'm just above that because I'm all zen and enlightened and I've dealt with it. So then Spirit's like, okay, so sends me this trial, this trial, this trial, this trial, then sends me love, sends me friendship, sends me enemies, sends me all kinds of what you might consider good and bad, even though good and bad is subjective in what you judge it, but sends me all these things to go, okay. And then I realized that in the trigger and the trauma of what Spirit sends me, that I have more, right? And just because I'm not out there in the distraction of, suburbia and schools and sports and the chase that a lot of people are in this world, I'm brought things from another direction. Or Spirit will just come in and go, okay, well, maybe there's only one way we can get in there and have her feel this so that she can let it go, so that she can be a higher frequency to move to that next phase as we all move into New Earth. What's going on now globally, is a very high consciousness. So you're seeing a lot of people upset and angry. Their inner hatred, their inner rage is coming out because there's so much light here. The darkness has to show itself. We are moving into a time where there's going to be new cities, okay? These new cities will probably be on federal land. I think they're calling them freedom cities or whatever. But you won't have to live with repressive governments. You won't have to live with, they're going, well, this is, we get this money, we're going to use this money to silence your speech and corruption. We're going to use this money for our friends and our cronies, and they're not going to be funded anymore. So you're going to have choice and freedom. You're going to have the tools to heal. Everything's going to be freed for you, but you have to get rid of all your stuff. So just like I was saying, like the Christmas Carol goes to the past or whatever, Spirit's sending in people, bringing, okay, we can bring these two people together, we can bring these two people together. Now, whether it's business, lovers, affairs, spouse, exes, kids, whatever it is, Spirit's bringing them in, so that you can break your own heart with your thoughts, or you can be inspired, or you can get an idea, or you can revisit something in your proverbial past to allow that energy to come up. When we move timelines, so when you see a Mandela effect, a shift, we don't only change the present, we change our past. So work with that. Work with when you wake up from a dream and something's weird in the dream and you don't really like, visualize and go back into the dream and change the dream. And I used to do that a lot with healing work on myself and others, of going back into past traumas, things that happened to me, things that I witnessed, and visualizing what happened different and feeling the emotion of the new way. And that assists you to let all that go and move into this next timeline. So the Year of the Dragon, returning and bringing all this stuff back. Like I've had stuff come up, and then people come out of the woodwork that I haven't talked to, in a decade. The unfinished business coming up to go, okay, well, let's revisit this. And then new people just walk in and boom, it's as if they've always been there, and then boom, they're gone. And then I have my things that I have to process and go, okay, well, who am I now? What do I prefer? What do I want in my life? What do I not want in my life? How do I want to react? And how do I be authentic to myself to react the way I want to react, but at the same time looking and going, well, these triggers and traumas are old news, so I don't really need to. So what do? Well, Spirit's like, you just sit there. Just feel it. Just feel the pain in your heart, in your solar plexus. Cry and scream and whatever you need and want to do. But the most important thing is to stay in the now. There's portals everywhere, every moment, everything anybody says to you, everything you see on the internet, everything you see on TikTok, every movie, every book, everything is a portal. What you choose to watch, what you choose to think about, what you choose to focus on is where you're headed. And I've been done with something for a while now, and I'm still kind of spinning my wheels on it. So the Spirit shows me I'm standing in an empty room, right? The furniture's been moved, the movers have left. They're getting ready to take the house down, and I'm still in there going, hey, anybody want to play? So I'm, it's time to let go. And a lot of times, but when I do that, when I step outside of that, then I get all these visions, interdimensional. I got poems and books and movies, and I travel, and I'm just so busy in the other worlds, interdimensional, that sometimes if I'm focused on something here in the 3D stuff in the Matrix and going, hey, you're bad, and you're bad, and you're bad, and then I can just not let all this interdimensional stuff come in. But now we're being forced to look at who we really are. We can't go back and do that anymore. We're bringing all this up again now to clear it all out once and for all, and once and for all go, I don't want that. Because anything that you spend, there's also this theory of like, well, if you believe in there's no justice, there's no justice. If you believe in the government exists. If you believe this, and sometimes you might roll your eyes, but the thing is that the more I change my focus, then the more the things come into focus based on what it is that I want. And so chasing things in their world's done. I'm done with that. They're going to have to keep working it out to its end in their way, miserable or happy or however they want. And it's nothing to do with me and none of my business. And what I was called to do, is done. I'm doing the cleanup work now. But my visions and my astral traveling and visiting other dimensions, and just my writings and my just talking to the trees and channeling Gold Star Trio and channeling a dragon and talking to me in other realities. I have dreams where I interact with this version of me in other dimensions, and that's my life full time. And I went to this other stuff to do the last couple of years to kind of ground and to kind of get me out of depression, kind of kept me busy. But now it's like worlds are separating even more. Timelines are separating, but at the same time, that's of different people and different things in different ways. But our timelines, our versions of us in every dimension and ancestral and all time being at once, are collapsing kind of into one timeline as we go through the eye of the needle. And then new timelines expand and open up within the new frequency, new reality, new possibilities where we're free. Where there's no longer an earth quarantine. If you followed the new age stuff on that for decades, it's been released now. So now we're going to interdimensionally travel. We're going to interplanetary travel. That Elon talking the other day about this space shuttle, like I could go to Ireland or the UK or whatever in 30 minutes. Go meet somebody for lunch. These this technology that they've always had, they've never given to us. Antarctica, for example, the treaty, all countries can be there, but everywhere else they fight. I mean, come on. The tech, the supernatural beings, the beings in the water, the interdimensional beings, the quantum Bigfoots that go in and out of realms. I've known about this my whole life, seen a lot of it my whole life. But then when it comes down to, okay, well, how do I use all of my knowledge to create the life I prefer? And that's every second of every moment choosing what is your highest excitement. So choosing going, what feels the best, that's how your higher self is talking to you. But oftentimes we'll think that anxiety is exciting. We're like, oh no, that feels good. I really want to go that way. This feels like fun, but it's not. It's you going into a pattern, or you trying to punish other people for how you feel, right? No one is responsible for how you feel but you. No one can trigger you unless you've already got the trauma, the triggers, the filters, the base language. People can say anything they want to you. You interpret it based on your own life experience. And, I was kind of feral anyway, but living in the car, like, I don't care about, I look at cleanliness different. I look at what's real different. I look at a cup of coffee different, warmth, every single thing that matters, and not chasing in that world and the freeways and the malls. And I don't want anything to do with that world. And as I move into the world that I want, I'm not really there because I'm still releasing baggage. And I thought we come to this point where we really think we've done a lot of work and we've let go of a lot of stuff. And then we get a test. And odd that oftentimes the test comes in the most beautiful, loving way, and then your heart gets broke. So how does your heart break, right? Because no one can break your heart. Anyone can say anything they want, and if your heart is broke, that's your interpretation of their words. Because I'm sitting around and I'll be like, and I'll start to get really down, and I'll be like, oh, well, that was a thought. So it was a thought that brought me down. So I just have a different thought, and that's what all the spiritual stuff says too. But I'm like, well, that's never been quite that easy. But now it's like, it really is like, if I'm touching a hot stove and it hurts, am I going to keep touching it? But if I have a thought that hurts me, I'm going to keep thinking it. We don't, it's the same thing. And Spirit's like, it's that easy. Every single moment is new. Every plank second, as Bashar talks about, you're moving timelines, frame, based on what you focus on, based on where you put your energy. And when you feel things getting chaotic and like gas falling from the sky on all these fires and blowing up and whatever, you go, whoa, and just walk out of it. Walk out of it, do something completely different. You don't need to be a part of it. There's no one to save now but you. That you project reality. You create worlds based on your own beliefs. You can't go and preach to other people and save them and tell them how wrong they are and how stupid they are and how bad they're. It's done. We're done. We've hit this new phase. And we have to walk our talk. And if someone wants to learn it, they have to come to us and ask. Okay? And it's a free will planet. We have to ask Spirit, show us this, teach us that. So when I asked to raise my frequency, or I asked for different healing things, and I brought things that maybe kind of shatter me, or a shamanic soul retrieval, I have to keep going back to, I trust myself. So I trust my reaction. I trust what I brought into my life. I trust what is repelled from my life. I trust me. And then next time you have that choice point, you make a choice again based on what you feel in that moment is really you. But oftentimes we learn that when we're given a past circumstance, we act the same as the past. Okay. So say I thought, oh, that's cool, I'm changed. But then say I still acted like 40%. So say you meet someone new and you like kind of pretend you're not who you are. So I'm like, and it happens slowly. It happened to me a couple times this last year. I didn't even really realize it, where I was altering myself. I mean, this gal that I'd met in 2022 or whatever, and I'd kind of talked to her on and off and on and off. And then I realized I was altering things I put on my Facebook page. I was altering things I would wear. I was altering things slowly so that she would like it better, or she would be pleased based on what she wanted. And I didn't even really realize it. And then when I did, I just kind of cut off the energy, because I'm like, this is not, I don't want to say I can't trust myself. I love myself. I trust myself. But I was like, well, I didn't get into a relationship with her. We just had talked about it because I saw myself doing that, because I'm like, I can't fully trust myself to not get with a woman and then become her version of me, suppress myself, walk on eggshells, because that was my pattern and my addiction to try to be who my partner wanted me to be, and then go off and be myself secretly by myself. And so to be honest, to like not lie about little things like oh yeah, I don't really like that place, or no, I'm not really interested in that, or we kind of be phony. We're like, well, yeah, I could do that. Well, I could do that. It's kind of like the frog boiling hot thing, right? You're inauthentic, right? And when you're dating sometimes, and then that becomes your life. So, but if you're honest, you're like, no, I'm not into that at all. And the other person would be like, well, that's cool, because that's not something we would do together, but I still like you. But if you act like you're interested in it, then you guys do it, they're suppressing yourself. Big examples of that, tons of them. But I give relationship advice. I love the example of like someone who really likes just this wonderful Chinese restaurant, really authentic. And someone likes this wonderful, authentic Mexican restaurant, right? And they get together as a couple, and they go somewhere that has both Mexican and Chinese, and it's mediocre. So and their whole life becomes that way. Just call it the monster, right? So it's not, I'm not me, and they're not them. We're a version of each other, which is kind of mediocre, and we're like settling for things. We're like, oh, you want to go here, you want to go there. We change the way we dress, and we start dressing in life. We start eating mediocre food. We start living a mediocre life. Whereas if it had been like, oh yeah, let's go to your Chinese place. Okay, that's cool. We dress up, we go to like a Chinese restaurant, we go to my movie, everything I like, and then we go to everything she likes, and I get to know what she's into and go to the quality places that she's into and visit them. And then she does that with me. Instead of merging things to where mediocrity takes over and eggshells, and you slowly begin to die, and you call it love and you call it relationships. We're clearing up all of that energy now. And even those of us who don't live with people and are in relationships and just go, none of that's for me, it will find you. And it will refine you. And you'll keep getting it over and over and over. And now what? So the Chinese New Year is like January 20th. So we got 2 months left. So it's just going to be thrown at you. What do you want? What do you want your life to be? Because there's massive groups of people. They're going to go do their thing, right? Who are you? Who are you without any politics, any ideology, any books, anything your parent thought, anything your spouse thought, anything your adult children thinks? Who are you? And that's what Spirit's bringing in over and over and over to show you right now. And that's kind of what Spirit wants you to know today. So, so I ask a blessing on you, and, just be in the radical now. It's all about the radical now. If, for example, I'm like, gosh, I feel like going to the store. And then I head out to the store because that feels exciting in the moment. Then something else calls you and you go a different direction, then a different direction. So if you have a highest excitement about a certain thing, doesn't mean you'll end up doing that. You just head towards that and be in the now and be conscious and let Spirit lead you this direction or that direction. Listen to your guides, listen to your intuition, trust yourself. And yeah, you can be in a completely different circumstance and reality as another person. And you can go, well, I don't prefer to be around him anymore. I don't prefer that life. I don't prefer who they are. I don't prefer anything about what they're doing, but their life is just as valid as mine, but I don't prefer it being anywhere near me. I don't prefer their reality. Just like, you don't prefer this dinner, or you don't prefer that food, or you don't prefer this. You have to be able to say that. And a lot of people are like, they will do what they don't prefer so that they can be around someone. And I've never really been addicted to being around someone. That I just need someone in my life, or I'm lonely, probably because I was raised an only child. But I've done it in my mind emotionally. So I'm a dog in Chinese astrology. So I'll be like, I'll kind of grab onto it and then want to please. And even long after the relationship's over, in my mind going, well, lamenting. Like after my 16-year relationship fucking took me like 10 years to go, oh, well, I guess, I'm kind of clear from the net now. I mean, too much information. Anyway, I invoke the power of the living God, and I believe in you. And I know that you can get out of the hive mind, and not just the hive mind of the people, but in your own mind, your own thoughts, your own machination, your own emotions that keep coming up, telling you, you did something wrong, you're bad, you're horrible, you're unlovable, you don't look right, you're too old, you got to be this, we're just a human vehicle. Okay, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks of you. Spirit is talking to you at all times through your joy. but you can't look at your joy if you're not in the now. If you're like, I just saw like my feet back here, my head here, like just running ahead, just chasing something that's a closed door instead of just sitting back and holding still and being confident enough and having the courage to just feel the pain of a broken heart, to feel the pain of people your entire life that have left you or betrayed you or lied to you. When you allow that to open and feel it with no story, no going back going, this person's bad, that person's bad, this person's good. No story, just feel it and let it flow. And it takes a lot. And you might end up doing a lot of crying and kicking and screaming and wailing. But that's what Spirit's asking of you now. To just, just give yourself a break, Spirit says. Just be kind to yourself and don't judge yourself through other people's eyes, and don't try to be some version of you that you're not to please someone that you think you're pleasing, when it's none of your business what other people are doing. It's none of your business what other people are saying about you. It's, your job to be true to you and leave situations you don't prefer. And, if you're uncomfortable or somebody's not kind to you or it's weird for you and you don't want to be there, don't be there. It doesn't matter if they're family, a new person, you've known them for decades. It doesn't matter. Trust you and love you, and don't abuse yourself and lie to yourself. And, it's okay to be heartbroken. It's okay to not pretend that you're not hurting. And it's, Spirit's telling me that it's like, it's just for me to revisit all this stuff, like the Christmas Carol, revisit all these past relationships energetically in a big gooey a big gel of past emotions, and just let it dissolve and evaporate without putting names to it or blame or faces or the need of justice, or just letting it clear. And I know this stuff, and I thought I'd done it, but you'll get tested and tested and tested. And so, I've been getting tested. Some of the tests, I did okay. So anyway, see, this is what I do too. Then Spirit's like, then I judge myself. And it's a matter of just keep going, well, do you trust yourself or do you not trust myself? I trust myself. I trust what I've drawn to my life. I trust what I repel from my life. I trust all of my life choices. I trust everything I've done. I own it all. And what I prefer, what I don't prefer. And, if you don't own it, you can't change it. If you say, I'm a victim to it, nothing I could do. Well, but if you own it and go, I created that, I'm not a victim, then you can create something new. So anyway, there's just a bit of that. So let's do a little bit of shamanic rattle here. Clear the energy. Oh, I got some energy built up in my solar plexus, talking about all that, breaking that emotion out. With the shamanic rattle, and again, you can use, lots of different things, but basically when the energy is heavy and sitting there, the rattle, it moves the energy. It really does. And so like I have this big sad blob in whatever I just said, kind of just sitting here. So then I agitate the negative spirits, and you burn some sage, and I do the shamanic egg, where you run the egg all over your body and your energy field, and you put it in a glass, and then you scry it. I guess I'm done talking. Anyway, this is a whole new phase, and to just, I'm everything that is me in this moment, settling and integrating into me as I go into this next phase. And that's for you too, if you've seen this video. So I love you. Bye.